I have a little treat in store for you today, my little daisy cakes. For some time now, I have been searching for a book that I only had vague memories of from when I got it, I think, from the Science Fiction Book Club in the late 70s or early 80s, though maybe it was from a Walden Books. I'm not sure, but it has stuck with me all these years because it was heavily, lavishly, incredibly illustrated, but I couldn't for the life of me remember the title or the author, but I was determined to figure it out because I am Daisy Ex Machina, the drag queen detective who investigates all things speculative in science fiction, fantasy, and horror. I only had 3 things to go on. 1, it was illustrated, and the illustrations were like nothing I'd seen before. 2, it was by a famous author, and I distinctly remember getting the book because of the author. And 3, it was a science fiction story about a man who was so beautiful that everyone fell in love with him. And for my little gay boy radar, I was fascinated by this story where everyone fell in love with an attractive young man. So anyway, I Googled everything I could think of and could not find anything. I tried ChatGPT and got a lot of weird matches because a lot of the times they thought it was Harlan Ellison for some reason, who is not known for his homoerotica. Ultimately, ChatGPT was no go. Then I went on to Goodreads, what's the name of the book forum, to ask for help because it's helped me before, but nothing. Nada. Zilch. Finally, I started Googling illustrated science fiction books year by freaking year, and finally, I found it. I present to you Planet Story, written by Harry Harrison and illustrated by Jim Burns, published in 1979. I got this copy off of eBay. It cost around $15 or so what a bargain. There is a hardcover first edition, which I believe goes for quite a bit more, but you can get these soft covers pretty cheap. As you can see, it is an oversized coffee table type book, and look at the illustrations. This came out way before graphic novels were a thing, and my guess is this was some type of publishing experiment combining heavy artwork with a short story. There's a brief mention of Planet Story on Harry Harrison's Wikipedia page, and it's almost like a little footnote, but it calls this a novella. I actually think it's closer to a short story because you can pretty much read the whole thing in a couple of hours. Maybe it's a novelette. Anyway, if you don't know who Harry Harrison is, his most famous work is probably Make Room, which was adapted into the groundbreaking 1973 science fiction film Soylent Green, starring Charlton Heston and Edward G. Robinson. But for me, I loved Harry Harrison's Stainless Steel Rat science fiction novels. The Stainless Steel Rat is a name or nickname of a master criminal in the far future who gets recruited or blackmailed or something into being a spy for the galactic government. Anyway, they are really silly, light, fun adventures. If you have not read Harrison before, there's a wicked streak of humor or satire in his work. He's sort of the proto-Douglas Adams or John Scalzi. Oh, I also got the Death World Omnibus at some point, which I also really liked. Something interesting about Harry Harrison is that he was drafted during World War II and became a sharpshooter and a specialist in prototype computer-aided gun sights. Unlike Robert Heinlein, who came from a military family and had a brief military career that left him with a generally positive viewpoint of the military, Harry Harrison left the military with an abject hatred of the military. In fact, one of its most popular characters is Bill the Galactic Hero, who stars in black comedy satire that takes aim at the military and is allegedly a reaction or rebuttal to Heinlein's Starship Troopers. Anyway, in Planet Story, Harrison's contempt for the military is in full force. It is about a young man who, as I have said, was so attractive and beautiful that anyone who saw him immediately fell in love with him, or at least in lust with him, and wanted to have sex with him. This included men, women, and animals. Anyway, he trained to be an exobiologist studying alien species, but he is drafted into some sort of galactic war. We never really know much about the war except the military is constantly finding wars. When he doesn't sleep with the army psychiatrist, she retaliates by sending him to work as the lowest level trooper on a space cruiser as a private. Oh yeah, this makes his name Private Parts. The spaceship is one of the worst in the galaxy, called the USE Execrable. Let me read you the first couple of sentences of Planet Story that describes the ship to give you an idea of Harrison's prose. Faster than a speeding bullet, faster than a beam of light, faster than anything in the galaxy, the space battleship USE Execrable hurtled through the eternal night between the stars, dark, ominous, as loomingly large as a small planetoid, marked with the gaping mouths of rocket tubes and blaster cannons, speckled with the bird shit of 1,000 planets. It rushed through the blackness of interstellar space. 12,243 troopers called the old execrable home, or would have called it home if they called their home a dismal, depressing, soul-destroying prison. When Private Parts doesn't sleep with the commanding officer on this ship, he is exiled to a planet with the most sadistic, evil, awful man in the military, Colonel Killing. The colonel is a sadist who lives for torturing people. He also is immune to Private Parts' sexual magnetism and is the only person Private Parts has ever met who doesn't want to sleep with him. So Private Parts is overjoyed to work for the colonel. And there's this weird relationship between them where because Private Parts wants to please the colonel loses all desire to torture Private Parts. It's like that relationship between the sadist dentist and the masochist in Little Shop of Horrors.
Oh, yes. Yes! Yeah. Get out there. What's wrong? Get out of here.
Anyway, a planetary survey reveals there's a rare mineral on the planet, and the military sends a ship to lay a railroad for mining. Nobody realizes the planet is inhabited by several alien races, which causes all sorts of problems. Also, the exolinguist who specializes in alien languages is Lieutenant Styrene Foam, a woman who Private Parts immediately falls in love with. When she sees Private Parts, they immediately hit it off. If you are into cheesy romantic erotica, you may like this. Let me give you a sample. My name is Styrene. A husky, sensuous voice susurrated. What's yours, handsome? Private Parts, ma'am. Yes, I've got them, and I hope you have too. You're fast, but I like it. Look here. She slowly opened the closure of her jacket as she spoke, and the pink protuberances of her breasts swelled out like twin dirigibles emerging from the same hangar. Dive in, she husked. Okay, I'll be honest, the story isn't great. It feels like the whole thing is a joke. You can't take any of the characters seriously. They certainly don't take anything they do seriously. The military are a complete bunch of buffoons. The aliens are silly. One set of aliens shoots poop at the humans from the birds they fly. It's interesting that the sexism is kind of reversed in that the male main character, Private Parts, is the one who is objectified. But once Lieutenant Styrene Foam enters, it feels as though she's the one being objectified, at least in the illustrations, if not the story. And here's where memories can play tricks on you, at least my memories. Because I distinctly remember the main character was a man that everyone fell in love with or in lust with, even other men. And in my mind, I thought there were a lot of illustrations of Private Parts. But there's hardly any illustrations of Private Parts. We get one picture in the beginning and a few long shots, but really the hot, steamy illustrations are of Styrene Foam. The story feels like it's just a vehicle to carry the artwork, because the artwork is the main event. There are so many gorgeous illustrations, all of which are in full color, that you really can get lost just looking at the details. So this is a weird book to rate because it depends on what you're getting it for. The story, the writing is a 2 out of 5. Maybe it's a 2.5 because the writing is good and there are moments of humor, but the story itself just doesn't hold up. At least it doesn't for me. I don't think you should really get this for the story, but if you enjoy science fiction artwork, the illustrations are 5 out of 5. So go ahead and get the book for the artwork. Also, I'll say if you are into science fiction history, it's a really interesting artifact. So let me know down in the comments if it's something you'd be interested in. And while you're there, don't forget to give this video a like and maybe subscribe to my channel. Maybe I'm being too harsh on this story. In the Harry Harrison bio at the back, it says he resides in Ireland and not a stone's throw from a pub where he keeps an account. He is the author of 25 novels, 5 short story collections, and has edited so many anthologies that he stopped counting. Harrison has stated in public that Planet Story is the crowning achievement of his career, and he will enter a monastery as soon as it is published. However, he said it in the pub mentioned above, so the veracity is open to doubt. I did say he was a satirist, didn't I? Until we meet again, may all the books you read be blessed.